Hello, Zeke Freak here. The second time I'm recording this intro. I'm just gonna barrel through it. I bought the first two Shakugan no Shana light novels that Viz put out a while ago, like 15 years ago or something. It was an incomplete run that they stopped after volume 2 due to low sales, and they put these out before the main, I don't want to say mainstream, but like the very established light novel localization industry that we have now. Like, obviously there was light novel localizations before these, from like Tokyo Pop and people, but like this was kind of unprecedented at the time, and it didn't sell great, so they stopped after volume 2. So yeah, I was looking on Mercari for, I wasn't looking for these specifically, but I was looking for general light novel like lots and shit, because I've been buying more light novels lately, and these were recommended to me by Mercari, but the price wasn't right. So I passed them over. But then a few weeks later, I got a notification that the price had gone. The seller had cut the price by like 35%. I guess they're having trouble finding a buyer. So I took the plunge because I figured, well, if they're having a hard time, these deserve a good home, and I really love Shana, so I bought them, even though it's an incomplete run and will be largely a historical relic for me, or just a curiosity to have. So I bought them, and they are in pretty fucking great condition, especially Volume 2, which looks almost pristine. Volume 1 has this slight bend, which the seller did tell me about, but otherwise is perfectly fine, and there's a little bit of sticker residue on the back, but that's about it. Otherwise, they look really fine. They have almost no yellowing, especially this one, which is kind of shocking for books that are like 15 years old now. I checked the copyright information. They were actually, Viz actually did this a little later than I thought they did. I was under the impression they tried this around like 2004, but it was actually 2007. This book was published in April of 2007. This was published in October of 2007, and after that, just yeah, nothing. So I really wanted to take a look and see how light novel localization 15 years ago compared to light novel localization today. And honestly, these were kind of ahead of their time, and just looking at them, like, I haven't read them in full yet, but I've skimmed a little bit, and like the translations don't seem to be dumbed down or anything. They don't seem to be like omitting things or censoring things, as far as I can tell. Obviously, I don't know Japanese. I haven't read the original novels, so I can't tell if the translation is like entirely accurate. But like from my perspective, just judging on what I know, like it seems pretty right to me. And the presentation is really nice. I really like this cover design. If they had published more, I would have, it would have been really cool for you to just like line them up like this in a big row. Unfortunately, that did not happen, so there goes that dream. But like, I really like this dynamic presentation here. One thing that's really interesting to me is the first volume has, and this is something you can probably see, but like it's obviously more easily felt. The first volume has a matte cover all around, front, back, side, but the second volume they switched to gloss, and this is really apparent if you just hold them like this. You can see that this has yeah, you can see the difference pretty clearly, which I think for collectors would have been really frustrating if they had continued this run, because then the first volume would be matte and the second volume would onward would be gloss, so that you just have this one matte volume among all the gloss volumes. Or maybe they'd alternate. They just go like matte gloss, matte gloss, matte gloss. That would actually be interesting and kind of cool. I don't know, but it's interesting to me that they, I don't actually know offhand. I tend to associate matte covers with being more premium, but that might just be because I like them better. Although I don't really have a problem with gloss. But like on the podcast recently, I made that comparison because Yen Press's stuff tends to be gloss, whereas 7C's stuff tends to be matte, and I tend to associate 7C's versions as being higher quality, so I kind of equate that to being more expensive to print. I actually don't know if that's true. I could probably look that up, but I'm lazy. So yeah, but the covers look really nice. The color illustrations at the front are really crisp and well done. They look nice. There's a lot of. I really got to look online to see if there's like a repository of all the light novel illustrations and little doodles that were in the Japanese versions, because I actually don't know if that exists, and I'd really like. I don't think I've been to the Shana wiki. I don't think that stuff is there, so, but it might be somewhere. Shit. Okay. Like the typesetting is pretty nice. I like this chapter header. I like the font. It's a pretty comfortable density. You can definitely tell going through these two books that like this was a different era of light novels, because like Noisy Ito will illustrate things that like aren't even like, because like modern light novels tend to either illustrate things that are like super dramatic and important or super sexy, and these Shauna illustrations, they actually tend to focus on more mundane things, or just like establishing like what a character looks like in a scene or whatever. And it's interesting. And sometimes they'll like, I'm just used to modern light novels where like illustrations only come when they want to either show a super important moment or just show like half naked girls. But like, yeah, like Shauna illustrations were a bit more egalitarian than that, which is interesting to me, where like they just have a more general focus. It really was like a different era. Like something like this, like I don't think something like this would ever like, not, I mean, not ever, everyone's different, but like generally I don't think you'd see an illustration for a moment like that where you're just meeting an old man. I don't think they'd go for that in modern light novel publishing. But yeah, it's actually, and they also include the author notes, or like the afterwards, in there as well, from Yashihiro Takahashi, which I guess is still done. I guess if it's not done, the author probably just didn't do an afterword. But like, yeah, because I remember my Excel World volumes have afterwards from Reki Kawahara, so I guess that's still done. But like, I was actually anticipating that an attempt at light novel localization would be different like 15 years ago, but like it's actually very comparable to what they do today, except in one regard, which is something I find interesting, in that there is no indication of volume number anywhere on these two books. It's not on the front, they're not on the spines, they're not on the cover page or the title page here. You don't see a volume 1 anywhere. You know, you see this page again, the other title page, nothing. Contents, nothing. And the same thing with volume 2, which you wouldn't know is volume 2 because it doesn't say volume 2 anywhere. It just has a different title and a different cover, you know. So I don't want to theorize, because it sounds like people weren't buying these books in the first place. But I think that if they had continued this run for a bit, even for a few more books, that might have been a problem, because it is a sequential story. It is a continuous narrative. So the fact that the books have no volume number labeling is very weird to me. It is. I think that's indicative of it just being a different era that relied more on the general YA market more than the light novel market that is established now, where they didn't quite know what people really wanted out of it. That is like the one indicator that tells me that these books came from a different time, aside from the fact that the copyright page says 2007 on it, is the fact that there's no volume number indicator. If they had published like 5 or 6 of these, I think people would have started to get a bit confused as to like what's the right order, because all they give you are these titles. They don't give you any kind of indication of what order they need to be bought or read in. So I think even if they had continued this line, that probably would have tripped them up. So yeah, and I'm definitely gonna read both of these just to see, just a taste, a sampling of what the original author's work was like, because obviously In the West, we only really have the anime to go off of, which is a complete adaptation, but it's not, especially the first two seasons, not the most faithful to the books. It is in some ways and isn't in others. We discussed that in our podcast episode of the Bakugaijin show about Shakugan no Shana recently, or at least I did. I told Kevin about it. I don't know how much he discussed it. I discussed it though. So, my arm. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to read through these at some point just to sort of see how it began in novel form. But again, really sad that it just ends after volume 2 as far as we're concerned. I'm really hoping at some point this series will get a license rescue. I don't expect Viz to continue it because I don't think they really publish light novels anymore. I think that's just not a game they're interested in playing. But another company like Yenon or Seven Seas or J Novel Club or something, you know, I request it when they do like the open for surveys and stuff. I request this series a lot. I really hope it gets license rescued at some point and reprinted. I think doing it in omnibus format would probably be more efficient because Shana does have a lot of volumes. There are 22 main volumes and 4 side volumes. And there is almost enough material for a 5th side volume. There's some short stories from recent years that have not been compiled in Tankobon yet. And it's the 20th anniversary of Shakugan no Shana's original printing in 2002. So I'm kind of expecting that there might be another short story, if only just to get enough material to print like a 5th and probably final side volume. So that's 27 books, which is a lot to commit to. So I really think if a modern publisher wanted to relicense this series, I think a omnibus format of 2 or 3 volumes in a book would actually do pretty well because they could get it in a shorter run. You know, you could, if you do two in one, you could do the main series in just 11 books. If there is a 27th volume, that would actually be really convenient because then you could do. I can't do. You would do it in 9. It would, yeah, divide. If you do 3 in 1, then you'd be able to do it all in 9 books. But who knows if that'll happen. I can hope. It's my white whale as far as light level localizations go, because these days anything that's even remotely popular, including a lot of shit that is nowhere near popular, gets licensed and localized in some capacity, even if it's only digital. But I would really be interested in Shakugan no Shana being license rescued and these novels being republished by someone. I don't really have a preference, just as long as somebody does it. It's a damn shame that they cut down this run short. I don't know what the circumstances were at the time. All I can find out is low sales, and how low I have no idea, but it must have been low enough for them to not continue the initiative, the Viz Fiction initiative, which I had never even heard of before, so that goes to show how successful that was. But yeah, these are just an odd curiosity of my Shana obsession, and I hope some company in the future can fuel that obsession further and make me buy all the fucking books. But that's just something I wanted to show, and also showcase this fucking neck light that I have been filming this with. I got this for reading, and this is really fucking cool. But that's not what the video's about. So, yeah. But it does help with filming. But yeah, so I just wanted to show that off, because I've been talking about Shana a lot recently. But that's it. So, Zeke Freak out. Ciao ciao for now.